Thank you for joining me for lesson 91 of Sefer HaMitzvos daily study. Today, we're covering just three mitzvahs. We're covering mitzvah negative 352, negative mitzvah 347, and negative mitzvah 346. The first of today's mitzvahs is the relationship between an uncle and a nephew um, is not that is forbidden, and this is obviously just like the relationship between a father and a son. We talked about yesterday that a father and a son, if they had a relationship together, an incestuous relationship, then they are not only guilty of a mitzvah not to do what they did, but also the mitzvah of a same-sex relationship between two males. And the thing is this actually has ramifications when they, for instance, bring an offering. If there weren't witnesses and they couldn't be found guilty in court, then they had to bring offerings, sin offerings for those. Well, let's say it was something they didn't know or whatever, then it would be like it wasn't an intentional thing. Somehow it happened unintentionally. Then they would bring a sin offering, etc. So there's different types of things, but whichever offerings they would need to bring, if they needed to bring offerings, would be doubled in those two cases. Next, finally, we're getting to adultery. This is negative mitzvah 347, that it is forbidden to commit adultery. And this, for some time, we've been in Leviticus 18. This brings us back to Exodus 20, verse 13, which says, "You shall not commit adultery." So this says, "You shall not lie with your neighbor's wife." And it's interesting. There are different kinds of penalties for this, and I'll read this in Sefer HaMitzvos. It says, "There are various forms of punishment for one who transgresses this prohibition. If she was a betrothed maiden, a nara merasa, she's executed by stoning, as explained in Deuteronomy 22:21. She's executed by stoning, as explained there. If she was the daughter of a Cohen, she's executed by sreifa, which is burning. And these are different types of punishment that is meted out by the courts, assuming that there were two witnesses, and that these people were warned not to do it, etc. So the Bas Cohen, the daughter of the Cohen, she's executed by sreifa, burning. However, the person who was with her would get strangulation. If she's not the daughter of a Cohen and is fully married, both of them are executed by strangulation. Regardless, if the testimony was not accepted for one reason or another, then the penalty was karis, being cut off, which is understood to be a premature death at the hands of heaven rather than the court. So it says here, all of these apply only if the transgression was done intentionally. If it was done unintentionally, then a sin offering is brought. The prohibition is repeated in the Ten Commandments in the statement, "Don't commit adultery," which refers to relations with a married man. All right. So there are some other interesting things to consider here. One thing I want to point out is in the book of John, it talks about a woman who there's a lot of details here that are very interesting. Some that seem problematic at first glance and maybe require some deeper thought and consideration in order to understand the story. I know that most people on a surface level, they understand what the story, or they believe they understand what the story is saying, but there are some very interesting details regarding the story of the woman caught in the act of adultery that was in the book of John. Some people might say, well, she wasn't actually sinning, but there had to have been witnesses. Some people, might say that she was saying that she shouldn't, like, people who are guilty of this shouldn't actually get the capital punishment that the Torah prescribes, but that's certainly not where this is going. What he does in the story is he negates the or causes the witnesses to negate their own witness. That for some reason they were not valid witnesses. And that doesn't mean that she didn't do what she's accused of, but for whatever reason, these people are not valid witnesses, and it says that they left. And now they weren't in this story. They couldn't have been bringing this. They couldn't have brought her to Yeshua to have him be the judge. That's certainly not the case. What there were issues going on here. Questions as whether or not, like, the Sanhedrin even actually at this time had the authority to carry out a capital punishment. And they were really asking, just like when they asked him, does your rabbi, they asked Peter, I believe, does your rabbi pay the temple tax? And he said he will pay it. And so really what they're asking for is his opinion in this situation. And earlier we've talked about what he considers adultery. He's very stringent on adultery, and therefore he is not coming against capital punishment for the crime. The interesting thing to me is that this is a stoning that was about to take place. Now, stoning, I wanted to mention, is that stoning did not take place according to what we know from Jewish law. Stoning wasn't like you see in Muslim countries, where someone, like, for instance, is like buried up to their neck and then people pelt them with stones, or someone is just pushed to the ground and hit with stones. What we learn is that people would be tossed from, and this is actually done in some Muslim countries, tossed from a higher elevation, like at least, I believe, at least 2 stories to the ground, and then if they did not expire from that fall, then they would place a large stone upon their chest. If that didn't do it, they would hit them with stones. Not a happy death by any means. In fact, this is one of the worst deaths that could take place. So the with this situation, they would do this if it happened within the father's home, then the woman would be actually stoned at the father's home. They would actually toss her off of the roof and then stone once she fell. The If not, if there's no reason to shame the father in this, then they would take her to the city gates for that to happen, is my understanding. And that's where that would take place. So it seems to me, it says that Yeshua was near the temple. It seems to me that they're probably bringing this woman to be judged. So she hasn't even been judged yet. They have not heard the witnesses, and the fact that they're saying that the Torah says that this girl uh, needs to be stoned. That really narrows things down as far as I understand. She wouldn't have been a married woman. Um, she Because a married woman gets a strangulation. She wouldn't have been the daughter of a priest, because the daughter of a priest gets burning, which I don't want to even darker and tell you more about forms of execution. But in order to get stoning, there's very few cases where that actually is the punishment for adultery. One of them is, and maybe the only one, is that of a betrothed maiden. So she's got to be very young. This would indicate to me that she is. Keep in mind, people married younger. Quite a while ago, 2000 more than 2,000 years ago, people married. After majority or puberty has set in, then they would be betrothed, and they might not, or they wouldn't marry right away. Nowadays, we'll do the betrothal and the marriage together on the same day, and it cuts out the possibility that somebody's going to be drawn away in between. So in this case, she had to be actually, according to Jewish law, which at the time, now we don't marry people off at this age, and even back then it was discouraged for a father to marry off his daughter who was not yet of age, but there was a window of time between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half, that a girl would be this betrothed maiden, and so she would be this girl, assuming that the story is factual, which we don't know why we wouldn't believe so, that she committed her sin between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half. She may have that may have actually taken place previously. It could have been, as far as I understand, it could have been, even up to a year before. But I don't know why the witnesses would have waited so long to bring her. Though there is a case where, if there was a rumor that got around, and later that rumor was believed to be accurate, or proof came out that it was true, that it may also have a similar punishment. But so in any case, she was betrothed, and at this very specific age range. Try to peel ourselves away from just the shock of the age. She's between this very specific age range. She's a girl who did this willingly. She was seduced by a man. That man could not have been her future husband because a betrothed man could have done so, and there wouldn't be a punishment. It's not good, but there wouldn't be a punishment. And so she's this age. She was in her father's house. She sinned willingly, consentingly, with another man, and we can assume that this man was also separately going to be tried. Um, and though these probably would have been the same witnesses for him. And uh, Yeshua actually confirms when he says, he says, "Who accuses you?" Once the witnesses have left, she said, "They're not here. They're gone." He said, "Well, if they don't accuse you, I don't accuse you." But of course, Yeshua in this case, though he's kind of presented in a judging kind of role, like maybe to make us think of King Solomon. I think that's the story is most likely to make us think of King Solomon because the book of John wants us to see Yeshua as the King of Israel. And so people would bring cases before King Solomon, and he used his wisdom in order to diffuse situations or to solve problems, like, for instance, the two women who were fighting over one baby. So there's probably a lot more to talk about, and I don't know if I finished every single one of my thoughts, but that is, I think, a very interesting story that really helps us kind of more so than we're not just trying to explain. Reason I bring it up, I'm not just trying to explain that story or try to justify issues that people might have with it, but I think it's a very interesting story to look at and then consider what we know from Jewish law to how to interpret what that must mean, and that it's very interesting because there's a lot more detail there in that story than at first it may seem. All right, finally, the mitzvah, negative mitzvah 346, which also we could talk about for days, is Leviticus 18:19. It says, "And to a woman during her uncleanness of her separation, you shall not come near." And I'll just read what he has to say here because there's a lot more. In fact, all these times that we've been talking about incest and other forbidden relationships and things, the section in Mishnah Torah had been going through details regarding family purity or regarding the menstruating woman, and so Sefer Mitzvahs isn't going to go so deep into that. You want to know more, I recommend even not actually reading Mishnah Torah, because Mishnah Torah might confuse you. And don't go getting, if you're Jewish, don't go getting your the laws for that from the Torah directly, because there are complications, there are things to think about that you wouldn't think about right away. And so there are other books that I would have to recommend, like Kitzer Dine Tahara is a really good one. But really, you should be studying with someone if you're a new chassan or kala, a groom or a bride. You should be doing these classes with somebody who's knowledgeable in the subject. So negative mitzvah 346, one is forbidden from having relations with a woman when she is menstrually impure for a minimum of 7 days. In terms of practical halacha, this prohibition continues for a minimum of 12 days from the onset of menstruation and continues until she immerses in a kosher mikveh. There are many details regarding these laws which require careful study, he says, and this is what I'm encouraging as well. The source of this mitzvah is Hashem's statement: "Do not approach a woman who is menstrually impure." That is Leviticus 18:19. She remains in this state even longer than 7 days, as long as she does not immerse in a mikveh. So it's required that she go to a kosher mikveh in order to immerse. And there's rules even regarding that. And this is a ritual pool, which we're hoping to build one here in Hudson, Wisconsin, with God's help. But that's required before she can actually come near her husband. And they even, they separate even more so than just in the case of relations. There are lots of details regarding touch, regarding what can be can they serve each other in certain ways, etc. And these are details which need study. So one who transgresses this prohibition is intentionally receives charis, being cut off by heaven. And if it's unintentional, then one must bring a sin offering. Thank you so much for joining me today. Very interesting subjects. I hope you got something out of it. Feel free to drop your thoughts into the comments, and I'd be happy to talk to you regarding those things if you have any questions or insights. Have a great day in every way, and have a good Shabbos. And Shavuos is coming up, so let's prepare to receive the Torah anew. Have a great day. Good Shabbos.